Hello and welcome to what this is our fourth edition of Standard Bank Talk. So should I call it Stand Big Talk since I am in Ghana? And once again, my name is Ron Derby. I'm the PR lead for PPV for the group. And joining me once again is Funeka Montjane. Funeka, how are you?
We are in Accra.
We are in Accra. You see, totally with the whole thing. Yeah.
You didn't buy anything, so no. Yours doesn't count.
Doesn't count. So this is our fourth episode, and as part of the episode, Funeka and I, this is second outside of Johannesburg. Okay. The whole idea is Funeka's big drive is wealth creation, right? Okay. So across the continent, wherever we go, I try and find people, interesting people that she can speak to about, and in this case, Ghana, and finding the two of our guests this evening. And I'm not going to butcher your names, I promise, anyway.
Mine is pretty simple.
Yeah.
You have to try.
You have to try.
On my left, first is Aish Ayensu.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Got it.
Founder and creative director of the internationally acclaimed Christie Brown, and I've been following lots and researching about you. Okay. And on Funeka's left-hand side is Ajike. I did get the right. Ajike Dsani.
Yes, Ajike Dsani.
Dsani. Sorry, apologies. Owner of Ajike Shea Center, an enterprise established to empower rural women in Ghana. Funeka's from rural South Africa. She has countless tales I'm sure she'll share as part of this interview. As a start, Funeka, we've been here how many days? 3-4 days?
2, 3.
Yeah. Second time in Ghana?
Yes.
Your impression since 2018, your last time you were here?
It feels the same way that it did last time, which is at home.
Oh, good.
But this time I had an opportunity to do shopping, which just makes me... I mean, you're not being in a place if you haven't spent money, I think.
Yeah.
And it sounds like glib, but you have to support. You have to become an economic participant of where you are. Yeah.
Yeah. And the first place you shopped, of course, is?
Christie Brown.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tell us about your journey. I know 2010, I think. 9 sort of followed.
2008, actually.
2008, yeah.
I know, I don't look at the over.
No, you don't. No. Yeah.
But yes, I started this journey in 2008. So a good 16 years ago, I was in my final year of university.
Yeah.
So you can imagine this was a passion project. I loved fashion. And the name Christie Brown is my grandmother's name, you see. So my grandmother was a seamstress, but she never had like a big fashion brand or whatnot. Now, I'd say fashion was in my blood, but in that 2008, there was something happening on the continent. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was all this talk of Africa rising, and people who had gone abroad to study were moving back. And it was just showing the magnificence of the continent, right? So it was like there was this movement. And for me, I grew up a Pan-Africanist. My parents are,
Are you from the land?
Listen, so it was my form of activism of sorts, because I said, okay, I'm gonna start a fashion brand, a global fashion brand that will show people a different side of Africa, right? The Africa that I knew, which wasn't like, hunger and poverty and, what you usually see in the news. Yeah. So I did that really green-eyed, and I thought, I'm going to tell this story so beautifully using our textiles and create this global fashion brand that stood for excellence, the excellence of the continent. But I learned really quickly that there's the dream and there's the reality of doing business. But so 16 years later, we're still here. A robust business. We have a beautiful store in Accra and Usu, close to about 90 staff. It's just, sometimes I look back and I think, from a one-man show, and now look at us. So
and a huge online presence.
Yeah.
Yes, it really is a robust e-com operation as well.
COVID helped them there, right?
It really did. I mean, for us, there was a silver lining there. I'll tell that story, I guess maybe a little later on, so I don't hog the mic. But COVID, when everybody was saying, woe is me, I feel like it did something for us as a brand because of certain decisions that we made, and now the world is our oyster.
Right. Ajike.
Amazing story.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, your story too, rural, northern Ghana, I understand, the Shea Butter operation.
Yes.
Give us a bit of your story and your background.
Very well. My journey started in 2015. My background is law, so I've always wanted something like to be the distributor of a particular hair care product. While I was in school, I've always had that dream. But coming out of school, and then I found myself in Ghana, and all of a sudden, I was distributing for a U.S. company as a distributor for Africa. But at the point when the dollar, U.S. dollar, Ghana CD rate was fluctuating everywhere. It was affecting business, and I was like, okay, this is not smart. Like, how would someone want to buy something so expensive because of the exchange, rate? And then while during my research, people were there. That was when everybody was going natural all over the world, leaving their hair natural, locks and all of those. And they said this particular hair product I was marketing was for black hair. And they said the best way to keep the hair moisturized after using moisturizers is to use shea butter. So I said, okay, I'm in Ghana, how do I get shea butter? And I asked a few friends around. I said, oh, it's in northern region of Ghana, you get shea butter. So that was how I started the shea butter business with about 10 Ghana cedis, which was less than $2 at that time. And that was when I was rounding up with the US company. Because of the exchange rate and all of those, I had to focus. So I said, okay, let's shea butter, okay. I sent 10 Ghana cedis, and I was not even selling the shea butter that time. When you buy my hair product, just to market the product, I'll add a bit of the shea butter. Then at the point, people said, oh, we don't like the scent of the shea. Then I started buying other oils to whip it. After whipping, I added some fragrances in it. So that was how I stopped selling the US product, and I started with just the whipping of shea butter with other oils and other fragrances. And I would jump from taxi to taxi, going to salons to give them my product. Some would say, we don't want to sell. It's okay, you keep it. When you finish selling, you can give me back the money. So that was how Ajike started with $2 in 2015. And today, we can boldly say that we have grown the business organically, 0 funding, 0 grants, 0 donation, 0 loans, and we are where we are today. And one thing that stood out for me when I went to visit the women in 2015, it was the state that I met them. I didn't know anything about shea, even though we grew up using shea. Our grandparents would want to put it on us, and it smells, it stinks. It was funny. So I never liked shea butter. So when I had to be forced to use shea butter to sell the other products, and then I was like, okay, let me visit the people that are making the shea. Beautiful. I did my research online, and I was blown away. I was surprised. I was shocked to my bones how shea butter that would look down on would be used to make lotions, soaps, hair products. And I was like, no way. So I took the journey, a 14-hour journey. I remember my very first trip to Tamale from Accra. I was so excited to meet the women, and I bought the ticket. And by the time I got to the car park, somebody had taken my seat. I said, today I'll be there. I sat on the aisle on the floor of the car, going to Tamale.
Wow.
Yeah.
At the point, I had to even lie floor on the bare floor in the car. I got to Tamale after 14 hours.
Yeah.
And I saw what I'd researched about shea, the industry, how I was shocked at the exact opposite of what was going on in the village.
Yeah.
I was like, no, shea butter is not coming from here. And I went to the houses, old women, everybody doing shea butter. I'm like, and I was hearing kids saying A, B, C, reciting ABC in a local mud school. And I said, is that a school? He said, that is a school in the village. I said, your mothers are making shea butter, millions exchanging hands, and this is where your kids are attending school?
Yes.
And I remember very well, vividly, I went to the classroom and I just spoke to the children. I said, you know what, kids? Don't worry. Just pray that the business grows. Even though I didn't know how to do it. No footprint, no blue, nothing, nobody to go to say, how do I start this business? But I know that from my background in law, I could research.
Right.
And I saw what I could use it for.
Right.
I didn't know how.
Yeah.
So that was the first step, going to the classroom, seeing the kids there. And I told them, you know what, kids? Don't worry. Let's pray that this business grows. And we were so proud. In 2020, when Corona was hitting everybody back and forth, we were able to start the building of a school for the kids.
Yep. I mean,
100% from the profit of our product.
Okay.
one of you.
Your brand?
Ajike.
Okay, I need to buy from it. It's got an online presence, right?
Yes, please.
Excellent.
And we also have a shop in East Legon.
Okay.
Yeah, one of your mission statements there is financial freedom for, I guess, rural. And so tell us how their lives have changed over the period.
Exactly. I'm always so proud and
Yeah.
I'm so happy to share this story any day.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that stood out for me with the women and their families and their husbands, the women never had a voice. You know, over there in the northern part of Ghana, a man could have about 4 or 5 wives and he's cutting the shots, even though he's not doing so much. The women have to take care of their children and they have to fight for the man's attention. So, and so many times you could hear beating, cries every time, all because the women are not financially enabled. So I knew that these women, they are very strong women, they have the strength, they have the knowledge, the tradition that's been passed down from mother to daughters. They have all this going on, and then they are like nobody in their homes. So I said, you know what? I called them together in a meeting. I said, you know what? I can't do it alone. I need you to work with me. Let's do this together. And it's changed when we started teaching them how to make shea butter soaps from the shea that we make. So that gave them so much money that they ended up giving loans to their husbands. Now, how do you beat, how do you start to beat somebody who is giving you loans?
Yeah.
One of the ladies said she was able to buy a deep freezer and she was making these local drinks for the kids in school. She has even loaned her husband the money. Now the husband is talking to her nicely. And I'm like, okay, that's right. That's what we want to hear. So they've been financially empowered and they now speak. Before they were so timid.
Yeah.
And I told them, no, look up. So now their confidence level is high. They can make shea butter, they can make the soap, they can make the black soap, and they are seeing the benefits of, how it has helped them when we come together as women. So for me, it's a win-win for the women in the village.
Funeka, creation of wealth.
Love this. I think for me, what stands out is 3 things. It's just the fact that sometimes we have to go out to the world to realize what we have here at home. I think that this is the time for Africa to create its own products that sells to ourselves first and to the world. Which is why I'm so interested in your online stores, because I actually want everyone around the continent to be buying this. And of course, I love the fact that the world also. And the second thing that I love is the fact that, like, your value chain, you understood your entire value chain. And sure, your willingness to go there and actually see what's happening there is phenomenal. And my third point is, I'm so passionate in general about Africans creating wealth, growing wealth, and passing on to the next generation, particularly women, because I think that whatever gains that we have made are not secure without some level of financial independence. And what I also love is that financial independence of a woman is a financial independence of a community.
Exactly.
Because we pass it on and share it with other people.
Exactly.
Love your story.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
Aisha, entrepreneurship in the creative economy. Now that's creatively, Africa is at the center of everything.
Yeah.
You've dressed Beyoncé, right? You've dressed.
Her tour, yes.
Yeah.
Mrs. Carter. So.
Tell us a bit about your story and just how it exploded, I guess, post-COVID as well, helping.
Right after university, I'd already launched this brand. I didn't necessarily know or understand how to make a garment. So I was really being tossed about I was at the mercy of tailors in Accra. So I used to run around from one place to the next with my designs, and they would disappoint me. The product will come out looking very different from what I had sketched. And they would say in local parlance, like, oh, that's how it's made, that's how it's done. But I knew very well that this brand I was trying to build, it is meant to sit on a global stage. If this is anyone's first encounter with Africa, they should never say, well, it's an African brand, so it's subpar. So then for me, I went to learn how to do it myself. So I enrolled at a fashion school here.
All right.
And I was taught how to sew, how to draft patterns, because I needed to understand the anatomy of a garment and how to actually construct one. That was my first step in controlling my product and the quality of it. So now that I knew how to, I could then grow the business, employ my own tailors. I started with one, and then of course it grows as demand grows. But I think there was also a thing of it was right place, right time. Because just by that first launch, I got invited to show at Arise Fashion Week. It was in South Africa, AFI, they call it now. And this is a green-eyed young lady. It's first time on a global fashion stage, and I had all designers from all over the continent, maybe about 50, countries. And it was the biggest platform. But over there, I won an award for Emerging Designer of the Year.
Amazing.
I never saw that coming. But I realized that at every point, there were certain things that, pushed me or propelled me a step further. That award now made sure that I got into this exhibition in Paris at the Georges Cinq. It was like a big deal as part of Paris Fashion Week. Yeah. Imagine this girl from Ghana in university. I didn't even understand the industry as much, but that trip also got me to understand just this whole global fashion industry that I was talking about, but I didn't even realize the magnitude of it. But you realize how at every stage, something happens to just push the dream further along. So it was, to tell the African story, but now it became about women, about the woman. I always say that the brand is about the woman. And I believe that when women are confident in themselves, it gives them that extra edge to go out there and be successful in whatever field. So now the pieces that we're creating become like an armor for her to walk into certain rooms because it makes her feel that level of confidence. And I'm carrying myself and all my ancestors with me into these rooms. So I have women tell me, I had this board meeting in Paris and I wore my Christie Brown jacket and, you should have seen me speak. I said, that's it. So then we're on to something. But still, what it is structure. Now the brand was growing, but I needed to also put certain structures in place. Now another woman who came in, she was a client and she works at the time with PwC, and she said, you know what, I'll coach you. She said she offered me management coaching as a very next to nothing. And having a business coach in 2012 at that critical point in my journey now moved this thing from a creative, sort of passion driven. I love what I do. Power to the people. And now I got to understand what it takes to actually build a sustainable business within this ecosystem and the value of putting in the structures to be able to make sure that this global brand that I want to build and create this legacy, it stands the test of time. So that's even having another woman, strong woman, support my dream in this way, now also move the brand to another place. Then you mentioned COVID time. So at this point, yes, Christie Brown, this was 2020. We've been in business for a while. And then COVID hits. Woe is me, who's buying clothes? We had to close shops at the time, but before we even had the online boom, we had to close our shops. There was lockdown, you couldn't move around. But I had this idea. I said, you know what? We were working on a collection anyway. Let's stage a virtual show. So I had one model, one photographer, and the model just walked back and forth in their pieces. Now, we weren't even allowed to go into our workplaces at the time. But the hustler in me was, we can't be making these clothes. People were making PPE. And so someone who had the concession to make nose masks, we took a bit off of them. I converted my whole place into a factory to make nose masks. This is the same factory that's making luxury fashion garments. But the thing is, we had to do what we had to do because we had all these staff that we had to pay, keep the lights on. These are families that are represented here. So we're already making those nose masks. And then we finished the collection too on the side. Now that virtual fashion show, I kid you not, it was such a game changer for us because it reached about 30,000 people.
I'm one of them.
You're one of them who watched that show. Now, if we're doing a physical fashion show in Accra, where would we house 30,000 people? We probably couldn't.
It's a football stadium.
That's a football stadium, and that's budget that we didn't have. But what that did was it opened us up to the world even further. But I always say that preparation. From about 2014, we already had an e-com site. So we were ready to take advantage of the attention that was coming in. Because somebody could have staged that fashion show, but then how would people buy the product, right? So I always say that there are lessons we learned along the journey, but there are also certain decisions we made, starting e-commerce, even regularizing our sizing and putting certain structures in place, made it ready for us to take advantage of what was happening at that time online. So that's how come the Funekas of this world discovered Christie Brown during COVID, and it just kickstarted another level for our e-com business. And today, the US is actually probably one of our biggest markets.
Amazing.
But my personal dream is I have this thing of kings: Kenya, Ivory Coast, Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa. That Christie Brown needs to have presence in these key African cities.
Yeah.
And so it's all part of our, our dream to conquer the continent and the world.
Funeka, your thoughts on these two stories as the opening gambit,
Sure,
right?
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal. Yeah, I think that this is the power of technology that can sound threatening, but at the same time, just connects us in a way that we could have never physically hoped to do.
Yep.
You know, when I put the order, I thought, how long is it going to take? I thought maybe I don't know, let's see.
Yes.
And it arrived a few days later. And
Exactly.
everyone was asking me, where's this from? And the minute you do that, then, the story grows.
Yeah.
So I think,
Yeah.
I also love your story, the fact about being willing to pivot
Yes.
and do what you got to do, because that's just really what we do, isn't it? Particularly we as African women,
Yep.
we do what we need to do.
Yep.
Every day we wake up, there's kids to be fed, there's families.
There are lives that are dependent on what we
Absolutely.
do as well.
Exactly.
And, the communities that we work in. Our workshop is in Koligono. It's one of the poorest neighborhoods in Accra. And I've had someone say to me that, how do you create luxury out of Koligono? And I said, you watch us.
Yeah.
Do it. And most of the people we employ are from the local
Yeah.
community. And for me, we just couldn't sit down and put our hands between our legs.
We have to do something.
We had to do
Exactly.
something.
I also love bougie Africa.
Listen.
I think that we as Africans need to start seeing ourselves in aspirational tones.
Thank you.
So when I see your stuff, I'm like, couture, why not?
Why not?
I mean, even if this is the only piece, and I love what you said about armor, because frequently when we have to walk into rooms, it's the rooms where no one that looks like you's ever been there.
Exactly.
And you feel a sense of isolation. But when you walk in with your armor and
Sorry.
with your ancestors,
I'm
They are
telling you,
with
and
you.
there's a
No, but-
certain presence
Yeah.
you carry when you have the confidence from within.
yeah.
So so ours is just to add on an extra layer.
Ajike, and of course, you guys are operating within a macro environment. I think we've gone through a few presentations about that, the challenges of operating in Ghana. How has it affected you, inflation? I mean, you did speak about the currency and its weakness initially when you before you started your operation. Just give us a sense of how it is to operate in Ghana.
Yes. When we started off, the currency was one of the main reasons why we were pushed to start Ajike as a brand. Even up until now, we try to stay within our currency. We don't spend so much importing, so that we don't have to exchange CD to US dollars. So we try as much as we can to get our ingredient from here. And luckily, Shea Butter is only found in Africa.
Yeah.
So it grows, it's only found in Africa. So not on all countries in Africa, just a few countries in Africa. So Ghana happens to be one of them. And also we get our oils, coconut oil, baobab oil. We try to source locally to cut down the cost of production, which in return, provides everybody with affordable skincare products, natural, plant-based, healthy skincare products. So looking at the economy now, and how our business have survived it, I would say that we have managed to keep our heads above the water in a way, because the economy is hitting everybody so hard. But in all of that, we've been able to find our ways, our steps, just trying to stay within local sourcing locally. Not only are we able to provide natural and organic product, we're also able to support other small businesses. Yeah.
Aisha, similar, your operations.
So for us, I mean, listen, the cost of doing business has quadrupled.
Exactly.
For us, in as much as we use local textile, we also, marry it with textile from all over the world. So it has hit us. But the e-com business and being able to shore up foreign exchange has helped a lot. You see. So then you're able to draw down and actually carry on business. So it cushions us in a bit. So yes, we have been able to, sort of coast in this period, but I keep saying just the cost of doing business is ridiculously high. Then the cost of borrowing as well, and not just borrowing, but borrowing as a creative, as they call it, creative industry or a company like mine. The banks don't. I mean, we're not. They see us as risky. And I think it's for a lack of understanding of lack of understanding of the industries that we are in, right?
And the stages of the business
and the stages of the business. And also, I think that as like fellow businesses within my same industry, maybe have not also proven the case, right? Or the financial case, so that like institutions or traditional institutions like the banks will see that, okay, well, this is worth, investing in, or whether it's on the investor side or on the lending side. But interest rates is interest rate. There's not much that it's regulated, so we understand. There's not much the banks can do about it. So we're in a funny place right now. I'll tell the story of when in my first store was opened in maybe 2012. So just around that time, to open that first store, you have to rent a space and pay a year in advance, right? And I mean, I couldn't afford that. I was still young in business. And a friend of mine who was a lawyer and had a client who, they had some money that sometimes he said they could lend to me. You won't believe it. I borrowed that money for that first shop and stock at 40%. It was so, listen, even now when I think about it, I would never have done it. But at the time, I just thought, where else am I going to get this money? Because if you go to the bank, they say, bring collateral. I'm a young girl from university. What am I bringing in my fridge? Or, there's not, if I had landed property, I wouldn't be coming. Yeah. So I took that risk. It was so risky. I wouldn't advise anyone to do that now, anyone in my position. However, within a year, I think it was at the time, it was $20,000 sent me. But I believed in this. I believed in the dream. I was able to pay back that 28K in a year. In fact, even in less than a year. But for me, that's what proved that, no, there's a viable business here. And at this point now, I had my shop. Yeah. I had my store. I had business running. It was on a street where, you'd have customers coming in. But it was for me, it was like it was a big risk, but it worked out in my favor because I was able to see that, okay, this machine is churning in a certain way. But can you imagine? Growing at 40%.
Funeka,
at that time.
as a bank rep.
2011 or 2010, 2011.
We have to crack this as an industry, as a bank, and I think it's in two ways. Firstly, I think there is a space for early stage entrepreneurial funding, but it can't really be done by bankers alone. But bankers can get a consortium together. Because remember, we're using depositors' money, and you don't want me to lose your money. You expect me to be like very safe.
Exactly.
But because of our network and connections, we could actually assemble, and that's what we want to do. And the second piece is there's a space for women in an organization. Actually, interestingly, in 3 of our countries, we've actually launched, I can only call them women spaces. So women can walk into any door, but if you feel like I don't feel heard, I need to be heard, there's that door. So our head of Africa regions in Mwanza launched Anakazi, which means woman, in Zambia. Yeah. And then we also have a women proposition in Kenya, and I think Uganda as well. So the plan is that we want to open up these women entrepreneurs spaces.
Right.
Because there's different things. And also because I think, to be honest, we're not always comfortable talking about money.
No, we're not.
Yes.
We don't talk about, okay, girl, so who's your financial advisor?
Yes.
Where's your money at? What's your money situation?
Exactly.
And it creates spaces like that.
And
yeah.
sometimes we don't have a good relationship with money. So
Yes.
it's like, you don't talk about it. And figures. If one asked you, okay, so how much do you need for your business? You find that, just...
and you undercharge for your product,
charge,
under-negotiate.
Discounts.
Yeah.
It's
under-negotiate, all those things. And I think it's quite important. The dialogue of women and money is an important one. And also in a space that feels like safe with other people who maybe might be going through the same things that you are. I think... one day, I can't say I'm there as well. But one day I want to be able to sit down with my friends once a year. Let's have an investment conversation.
Oh, wow.
What's your money situation? What's your return? Who's your advisor? I don't know. I'm sure men also don't have this conversation, but I think it's an important one.
Viewing wealth differently.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think it's a certain route, but
Also, I would like to add that sometimes when a business is able to start on its own. And you're pushing, and you get to a particular stage, you just need that push to take it to the next level. Because take, for instance, our kind of business, shea industry, is a multi-million-dollar industry.
Yeah.
I know brands who are based in the US who source their raw ingredient from Africa, and they make millions every year. How did they do that? And we are here just trying to take the crumbs.
Subsistence,
Yeah, because their system over there works. They can just wake up and take some loans that will put them on a particular level. Just marketing alone, it takes money. There has to be some kind of money aside for your business for marketing, because no matter how good your products are, if people don't know about it, they won't sell. Yeah, so we just need that from here to there push. That is all, but because when your business gets to a place and you just need to invest more in machineries, supply chain distribution, marketing, and it's not coming, you'll be on a particular level for too long.
Yeah.
So just that push alone can make a whole lot of difference, and we can rub shoulders. We have the raw ingredients, we have the manpower, we have everything it takes for us to be on the same level with them. Just that push
Absolutely.
that we need.
And I feel that entrepreneurs or even women entrepreneurs need some support in terms of like financial planning.
Yes.
Because sometimes as a business owner, you might think that, I need money to do this, but are you sure that is the best use of funds, and will that get you the kind of returns that you're looking at? Sometimes you need that advice, right? Now, to get a financial advisor, it's not necessarily the cheapest, but someone mentioned to me that, why don't you guys use your banks as financial advisors? And I think people don't also realize that. People see the bank as, you deposit your money, you keep it safe for me, let me, but if it was clear, or that relationship between entrepreneurs and their banks was even made more open and clear, or there are certain services that they can get where, maybe on their own they can't afford to hire a financial advisor. Your bank should be your support in that way. You should be having certain conversations versus, withdraw and deposit, put money in. But
And
it's more
exactly.
the financial planning. Yes,
Yes,
people
That's
don't
exactly
know
what
that.
we want to do.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with her. When we as business owners, as I said earlier, we don't have role models who have done what we are doing. So we are like the trailblazers. So we are just there, just doing what we just have our dream and our vision pushing us. That is the only motivation we have. The vision that we have for the brand, that is the only motivating factor that keeps, that even when you fall down, you pick yourself up and be like, I'm going there. I had to drop my legal background, my law degree, everything I knew to pursue this entrepreneurial journey. And I needed to make sure that it works, because there's no going back. If I've left everything behind, that is the thing, the vision, the motivating factor for me, pushing me. So sometimes you just need maybe one or two women that will hold us by the hand and make the journey a bit shorter. Maybe there are some people who are experienced, are experts in giving, like she said, financial business advices. Some of the mistakes we have made, we wouldn't have made those mistakes if we knew people would hold our hands and say, no, don't use that way. This is better. It might be longer, but it's safer for you. Use that way. So we need
that don't exist. So which global luxury? You have your Chanels and your Gucci's and so on. So now we're trying to build the giants of the continent from Africa. So imagine from an emerging market like ours and so on, how is it done? So everything that we do is actually now building that model, and then those behind us will now see what's the path forward.
The role of the banker and
Absolute passion. Actually, absolute passion point. Exactly what you've said. That a banker should be, what we want to be is to make sure that we manage not only your banking, but really your journey towards wealth creation. And it's not a linear journey. There are low lows and high highs.
Yes,
exactly.
And you got to know how to navigate this. So at the center of that, I agree with you, that is this thing that's loosely called advice. And that advice, sometimes it's not from one person. It's also about convening a community of women. Just other people that you can pick up the phone and say, have you seen something like this?
right.
So that's exactly what we're in the process of crafting. So hopefully you will be excited when we launch.
That would be great to know.
Will be.
as we have to close it up, I could go on with the conversation. Aisha, your hopes for the future, and just what do you see? What Ghana in particular? Across, I like the Kings. I love them.
Listen, Kings, and I hope everyone adopts it. No, I mean, there is something happening. There's a renaissance. Music led with was not opened the door for fashion and anything to do with our culture to slip through. Now, I think that my hope is that all these industries or all these businesses that make up the creative economy will be given the right support. There's a lot of talk. We go to a lot of seminars and everybody's saying the right thing. But it's important that we back it with action, you know, and actually put our monies where our mouths are. But not just throw monies at it either. Whatever support we identify that the creative economy needs, let's do it. Let's do it now. Because we are leaving money on the table, just even as a continent, right? And like I said, this renaissance that's happening with our culture, we need to own it before other people take it, package it, and bring it right back to us and lap it up. It's important that we put the structures in place so that we now give Africa to the world in our way. So yes, that's
Our version of events.
Yeah. As I've always said, everywhere I go, the vision for Ajike is to be the number one, the leading manufacturer of shea-based skincare products from Africa to the world. We want to stay in Africa and be able to ship all over the world so that we can continue to do, because at Ajike we have built 2 schools. Like I said, when I met the children, they were sitting on the floor reading, reciting their ABC and all of those. And then I just knew that we could do better. So we're able to build 2 schools. One we renovated, the other one we built it from scratch, and where kids are back in school, and attendance is 100% free. So we are paying teacher salary. So we want to be able to have that, to be able to provide that for the communities around us.
impact.
Just be the leading manufacturer of shea-based products from out of Africa to the world. That is the vision for the brand.
Funeka.
The future is
Those are
just
for-
here. You've just heard it.
Yeah.
And it's hopeful. And it says, the future is saying that we will create our own knowledge and we will sell it to the world, and we'll make sure that we retain wealth in our own continent. But the process of creation for me is the thing. Creation of knowledge, creation of goods, creation of products. It's fantastic. I love Ghana, you know, from 1957 to now, and phenomenal. The story of Ghana is a story of the continent, of everything that can be. And yes, of course, if you look at any story with a microscope, it can look a particular way. But if you can take a step back and think of where we are, I think that my hope is that we continue to grow from strength to strength and connect ourselves as a continent, do business with each other, much better governance, and get going. And more importantly, support this young creative energy.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us
Thank you.
in our
Thank you for
4th
having us.
episode. There'll be a 5th one, right? Still?
Yes.
Still good? Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us on Standard Bank Talks.